So hey, I'm Darryl Shular. I'm a medical sales rep. I've been doing this a little under, I would say a year now, probably about 9-10 months or so. I would say since I've started to now, I've learned a whole bunch. I first started off doing ankles. I was working with some of the doctors here in San Antonio, and now I do ankles, I do knees, and I do hips. I work with a couple of companies. As far as ankles, I work with Integra, Orthofix, and then on the hip knee portion, I work with Ortho Development. But I guess the way I started is, everybody kind of has their own way as far as how they got into the business. Mine was kind of more on the line of who I know. A buddy of mine that I met at a quinceañera of all places, he gave me an opportunity to get into the field. I'd always wanted to, I just didn't really have a way of getting into it. I looked at some of the big companies out there, Stryker, Zimmer, all those, the main ones that you hear about. And I had applied online before, just didn't really get any feedback yet. And then this opportunity came up, and it's been going good ever since. As far as like a day-to-day for me, so juggling between the two companies, I would say most of my days, I'm at a hospital or a surgery center, usually by like 5:30 in the morning, sometimes 5 a.m., just to either I'm turning over trays or I'm getting trays ready for the case that day. Implants, just making sure everything is, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, all that good stuff. And then after that, once I've got all the instruments in the room, working with the surge tech to make sure we have all the instruments pulled. Usually I'll check over x-rays just in case we need to change any settings to any particular instruments or whatnot. And usually on a day-to-day, I will probably have maybe anywhere from 2 to 4 cases, depending on who I'm working with. I have some docs that, they're 30 minutes or less type of docs, so that's always cool because you get in and get out. And then just depending on certain cases, some can take 2 hours, but sometimes I may be the 5th case and I may just be sitting around at the hospital kind of waiting. So during that time, I like to kind of, get ahead for the next couple of days during the week. I will say the thing I like about it a lot is that I get to kind of dictate my schedule in a way. I have a family, I have 2 kids, and so for me, the earlier my day starts, the more time I have later on in the day, go pick up kids, go to the gym, get stuff ready for the next work day. So I would say, I've only been doing it a year, but I really like it. And I would recommend anybody else that's interested into the medical field, like, hey, being a rep is a good way to go. You can always maximize your dollars, which is a good thing. I'm a 1099 rep, so it has its good, has its good and its bad days. But overall, I would definitely recommend it.
So as a medical sales rep, does it require any formal training, or is it all kind of on the job?
You get a lot of training. Like most companies, you kind of go through, once you get hired, you go through certain trainings and you go up level by level. Like if you pass this test or whatnot, then you can stay. Some of the companies are like, hey, if you pass this test, then, good riddance, thank you for coming out or whatnot. Having some medical background is definitely a plus. I know some of my colleagues are either ex techs or nurses, so that's definitely a bonus, having that medical background. If you don't, someone like me, you gotta read and study all day, every day. I try to surround myself with technique guides, anything I can read about the anatomy. Even my Instagram is like filled with me just following different doctors and different little sites out there, so I can just be surrounded by it as much as I can. So if you don't have any background, somebody like me, you just got to go the extra mile and kind of take all the trainings that the company gives you, that's been a blessing. And then obviously on your free time, study as much as you possibly can.
So as a medical sales rep, so you're in the operating room with the surgeons and the rest of the operating room staff.
Yeah.
Can you talk about like what you're doing in surgery?
So basically what I do, Like I was saying earlier, before we even a patient's in the room, I get with the tech, make sure we have all the instruments there, everything the doc needs, just from, mallets all the way up to the implants, just making sure all that's in the room. And then after that, I'm communicating a lot with the tech, but I'm also, once we're starting the surgery, I'm communicating a lot with the tech, but then I'm also communicating with the doc a lot because some cases it's not always the same things that they do every day. It could have been a situation where I've been trying to get this doctor on board and he finally says, hey, you know what, I'll give your implant or your plate or whatnot, or your screw a shot, and it may be his first time, so I instruct them on how to implant it, what degrees, what type of cut, what pretty much everything from A to Z.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And any advice for anyone that's interested in becoming a medical sales rep? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say that, like I said, it definitely helps to have some type of medical background, but obviously you don't necessarily have to, but it does help, especially if you want to get in with some of these bigger companies. But I would say, kind of check online. That's how I first started, was just looking at different companies and looking to see what all I need to know, different certifications, anything like that will help, because not necessarily do they have enough time to get you up to speed when there's already so many other people that, like I said, are ex-nurses and techs and just LVNs, anybody else that's been in the business. Obviously they're going to have an upper hand on you, so try to come to the table with as much knowledge, certifications, so whatever you can, bring to the table will definitely help.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah.